The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Phil Griffin is an attorney. You have helped Marco Rubio, Romney Ryan, kind of any of those big names you can think of, Rick Perry, all of them. What's going on with the GOP? Give me just an overview of what you think of the GOP right now.
Sure. I guess I've enjoyed the last couple of years working with everybody from Governor Chris Christie and Bob McDonnell in 2009 to helping somebody like Marco Rubio come out of nowhere to capture a Senate seat in Florida, and then helped run Scott Walker's campaign in Wisconsin. So I agree that we have a lot of really strong candidates at the statewide level across the country in blue states, red states, and purple states.
I know that you've done a lot of work with voter fraud,
That's
right?
correct.
If we don't have a fair election, what's the point? And can this be fixed? Is this something that's just unfixable? It seems like they don't even do anything about it.
I have some serious questions on the way that the 2012 campaign was run. And I, for one, don't believe that the vote that we were given state by state is accurate. If you consider the fact that one out of every 8 voters that were registered is an invalid registration, and yet they somehow voted on Election Day, tens of thousands of extra votes in Florida and Ohio, votes that weren't monitored in Pennsylvania and Virginia.
140% in some precincts. I mean, come on. It's crazy.
You still have today voters that are registered in places where there's more than 100% voter registration. And you had this one of the largest cities in Connecticut this year in a tight race for the U.S. Senate with Linda McMahon, a great candidate, had 115% voter turnout projections.
Why isn't he thrown out then right now? Why don't they get rid of them? What is holding it up?
We have the fox watching the hen house right now. We have the Obama administration with Eric Holder in charge, and Eric Holder has done nothing but stall, stonewall, and delay, whether it's turning over documents, complying with federal election law, or monitoring states properly clean up their voter registration rolls.
Are you working with True the Vote?
I would love to work more with True the Vote. I think True the Vote and Judicial Watch are two of the best organizations that the conservative movement has at this point in time. We should have every American who is eligible to vote registered. It should be a relatively simple process, but if you're not an American citizen, you can't vote. If you're a convicted felon and you're not allowed to vote in your state, you can't vote.
But they do. And here's the other thing. This immigration push that's going on right now, you realize, and I know you realize, that 11 million people that are going to be, if the immigration thing goes through, that's 11 million votes for the Democrats. What do you think, right?
I would like to think that whether they're Hispanic or of other nationality, if they're here and not citizens, there ought to be a process to make them citizens, number one, and they're conservative. They should be voting as Republicans. However, that's not going to happen tomorrow, and it is going to take some time. One of the areas that the liberals have taken the lead on this issue is to try to get students registered to vote. They may not be American citizens, but if you get a student ID at the University of Texas or the University of Illinois, that state-issued ID is also your punch card to go and vote, even though you know and we know you're not a citizen and you're not able to vote in U.S. elections. You should be voting in the country where you're registered to vote. That's one of the problems that Republican governors and others have faced across the country, and it's something that they will continue to face in years to come. I think we need to deal with it now, not later.
Don't you think, though, it seems like it's like Christmas, when everybody can't wait for Christmas and they get their decorations up the minute Christmas is over. You just want them in the box. You don't want to think about it anymore. It seems like that happens with elections. The minute the election is over, you're sick of the advertising. You don't care. Okay, we lost, even though we lost 120%. It doesn't matter. I just don't want to think about it. Yeah, let's move on. Let's bury our heads back in the sand. Do you think that might have if we all kept at it and in social networking and kept telling them, this is wrong, would that help? Is it just a matter of out of sight, out of mind?
It's an issue that's going to rear its ugly head every election that we have. It will be.
Shouldn't we take care of it before the next election, before 2014?
We should, and that's one of the reasons that I'm on your show, that I'm out here talking at CPAC to various groups. You have great people like John Fund and Hans von Spakowski out there talking about voter fraud issues, and it needs to be something that's on the forefront of our mind, not, oh my gosh, tomorrow's election day, we need a program in place. I will credit the Romney campaign. They at least started looking at this issue in January of 2012. We needed to be looking at this issue in February of 2009. Or December of 2010, because that's when the Obama people were looking at this issue. I'll tell you a quick story. I went up to help run Scott Walker's Milwaukee campaign, both the 72-hour program and the voter fraud on Election Day. And well, guess who was there? This is almost 6 months before his presidential race. Barack Obama has multiple campaign offices open, helping the Democrats in June to register and get out the vote for an election. And there was no question in my mind that the registration, will be gentle and call them flaws and problems in June, they didn't get corrected in November, and Wisconsin went Democratic 6 months later when it should have gone Republican with Paul Ryan on the ticket.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.